Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Stage 4 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, the ITT, the first one we've had in a while, and it was very, very decisive for GC Gaps. A close run thing for the stage win as well. From Gevry-Chambertin to Dijon, 21 kilometers. We have a flat but technical first 7 kilometers, some pavé through some villages. Then they do the Lacet de Marsonnet, 2K, 7%, quite a hard climb, but on a big highway-sized road. Then it kicks up again to the Courcelles Le Mans, 300 meters at 5%. I could have done with another intermediate time check in this TT, I have to say. I would have put one at the start of the climb and then on top of the Courcelles Le Mans, but that's just me. Pedaling descent, and then the last 4.5 Ks are flat into Dijon. The finish, we had Royce as the favorite. We didn't really discuss the Backstedts Noyens of the world yesterday. We were quite GC focused, but they also played a big role, I would say, in this stage. 7 of those brought to you by Morton. I don't know what percent, but a big percent of the riders in the TT today would have been taking Morton bicarb before this TT. More on that in a second. But yeah, we got some news pre-TT, Benji. It came out from an article. Luke will check that we credit it correctly, but there was an article about, was it Wielerflits?
I think it was Wielerflits with Bert Blocken involved as the aero expert / specialist. But there's also a Times article on this, by the way, Patrick. I'm looking at a Times article with a title, Tour de France Femmes riders face extra checks after bra padding claim. And
can I do a rant?
Is
it too early?
Okay.
Is it too early for it?
You can start the rant, but I want to have space for my rant.
Okay. 20-second rant. Can we try to get into the mainstream media with our beloved sport for anything other than doping and weird stuff? Sorry, continue, Benji.
That is exactly the take I was going to give, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That is the thing. I think you and I have tried our best in the last couple of days for this topic to not be the main center of attention. Because I want to talk about the racing in pro cycling. Now, there is an element to it that there are riders both in the women's and men's side that try to benefit from trying to transform their chest area to try and make themselves more aerodynamic in a time trial. That is a fact. But it's also a fact that it only blows up because it's becoming out during the Tour de France Femmes.
Exactly. And when riders adopt a position that's really obvious on a big race, maybe the jury, like Hubart has probably been riding that position in the Tour de France breakaway. He's been riding that position all year. He doesn't just turn up one day in the Tour and ride that position. He's been doing it all year. And but in the Tour de France, it was sort of highlighted, and he just got a warning and dropped out of the breakaway. But indeed, I understand the rule to not put stuff in your chest to adjust the morphology of the riders. But
how are you going to check it? Well, let's get to that.
Yeah, how are you going to check it? Firstly, but you got to approach. Can we approach it in a different? Firstly, the NBA does this, right? So the NBA, and maybe the UCI did this, but I don't think so, because it basically was an article and then... No, it's reactionary, right? The article predates it, right? It was the article and then the enforcement. Or am I missing a timeline here?
That's the way I perceive it. The article said that several teams within women's cycling were concerned about it. And then the enforcement comes out later. Now, I do see a pattern in the way the UCI has approached this subject as a whole this year. They weren't talking about bra padding. They were talking about putting your radios at the back, etc. In those small aspects. So I don't necessarily hate the way the UCI has approached the first elements of this. We do come to a situation now where they're moving to enforcement, which I literally saw on the broadcast a UCI commissaire looking at the cleavage of a female cyclist, a male UCI commissaire, and there is something wrong about that image for me.
Yeah, like you have to counterbalance, okay, what is the sporting integrity you're trying to protect versus that image that's now on Twitter is really bad for the image of cycling. Looks awful. And you at a minimum have to at least have female commissaires doing the checks. I mean, that is the bare minimum. Otherwise, say, okay, like I said, the NBA does points of emphasis on rules that were pre-existing, but maybe they didn't enforce properly, and the NBA will then say in the winter or in the off season, hey, next season these rules are going to be enforced more aggressively with a point of emphasis. Don't choose the Super Bowl. Don't choose the NBA championships. Don't choose the World Series. Don't choose the Tour de France to do this. To do the only nighttime checks of the year, where we had also an article in The Guardian from David Lepartien giving quotes today. Don't choose our Super Bowl moments to only enforce it. And indeed, that photo is not a great image, I would say, for cycling that was on Twitter today. But anyway, it was being enforced, I suppose. There was also what else was there?
I don't really know what else there was. I don't know.
I
what
guess
you're
there hasn't been that
pointing
many
towards.
TTs beforehand, but indeed the TT was. I shouldn't bury the lead. It was won by Marlon Reusser ahead of Lee Kanoin by 4 seconds. I think it was actually less than 4 seconds. I don't know if the wind directions changed. At T1, Reusser had 20 seconds ahead of Lee Kanoin. She then lost 15 seconds in the run into the finish. T1 on the uphill section, the best averaged 38 k's an hour. Nguyen averaged 56 in the last 12 minutes, so much quicker from T1. Demi Vollering, the next best on 27.48. She loses 18 seconds to Reusser. That's nothing. She was 5th at T1, 2nd at T1 to the finish. So she actually was quicker by 5 seconds than Reusser to the finish. So she held something back. Backstedt 4th with a good TT, but not relevant for GC. Same with the Bredevold. Faulkner 6th. So we do see the power riders, Backstedt, Bredevold, Faulkner, Nguyen, and Reusser, of course, doing, I think, better than I expected. Maybe I over-indexed on how important the hill would be, because actually, and I'll say why that might be the case in a second. Kerbal 28.24. She loses, by the way, nearly 54 seconds to Reusser. Lotte Klaas 8th, Rihanna Marcus 9th, ELB 28.33, and we'll do up the list of the GC contenders in a second. But for the stage win, I think Reusser, you're stat padding, Benji. You're Pogacar. You pick the favorite, and now I think mathematically I'm done for the comp.
I think you're not completely done, because I think now the GC results also matter, but our GC results are not that different. And let's be honest about it, ferran-prevot is not looking that great, so I'm not sure you're winning in that regard either. There's so many things to talk about here. We spoke about the UCI check crap. I want to go towards the actual racing stuff, like you say. And the first thing I notice is Demi Vollering setting a great time trial here. A great time trial. She's close in this time trial, but taking up to almost 2 minutes to ferran-prevot with a pretty terrible time trial. We'll get to her in a second. I do think Vollering had maybe a 5 to 10 second bonus of moto pacing in the last half. But yeah, that was pretty obvious. No? Am I exaggerating?
On the descent for Demi, she had the dual polit. That was
Is 5 to 10 too much? Probably too much.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised, but
in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter much for the difference with ferran-prevot in this specific time trial. But hey, it could change up in GC a little bit if the race ends with 2 seconds difference. Then people might talk about it. But ferran-prevot's position, Patrick, when I was going into this time trial expecting ferran-prevot to lose 60-ish seconds to Vollering, maybe 70 seconds to Van der Breggen, 90 seconds to Reusser. That was my take here. Van der Breggen disappointing, but the second ferran-prevot even showed up at the time, at the starting spot, I turned my head from my screen to my wall. It took 10 seconds to process, and I think it is a morphing between Primoz Roglic's helmet in the Planche de Belfië time trial in 2020 and Felix Gall's position in the time trial at the Giro.
The Gall one is the most similar, yeah. I think I saw a photo of Gall. Gall's TT was actually no, it was bad.
It was really bad.
Yeah. And indeed, we were thinking, is it going to be like, remember Sepp Kuss? I think the quickest, slowest TT ever was Sepp Kuss 23 Vuelta, where Kuss starts the TT and you're like, he might OTL this. And then he actually, from his position, and then he actually went really fast in that TT, did a great TT in 23 Vuelta. We think, is that the case? I mean, and again, the climb, we're thinking that can save ferran-prevot. It's going to be, it's only 36 kilometers an hour to the top of T1. That's not, aero matters, of course, but it's not as important as a 50K average TT. And she's losing huge amounts of time. She loses a minute 21 at T1 to Reusser and a minute 58 seconds to Vollering at T1. 58 seconds. So a minute at T1's already shipped to Vollering, and you're not going to take it back. You're going to keep losing time to the finish. And to the finish, indeed, she was 34th at T1, and she was 42nd from T1 to the finish. And yeah, it's a worse TT than expected, because when you look at, like, if you have the GC riders in tiers, so, okay, Reusser is in her own class in a TT like this. Yeah. Then you got Vollering is also maybe her own tier. Then you've got the power riders, ELB, Blasi, Kerbal. They're given, 25, 30 seconds to Demi, and it was actually less for ELB. She had a bike change, by the way, for her near the finish. That's why she was 4th at T1 and she's 31st T1 to the finish. She had a bike change. And then you got another tier, and you got like Nuvia Doma. I mean, Nuvia Doma's also, she's small. She does like, it looks like a positive split, but the reality is she just went quicker on the slower section and she went slower on the faster section because she's small. And then you got like your Niedermeyers and Vladarčiks in the middle. I think you were hoping for, if PFP has the legs, somewhere around Niedermeyer, 29.05. Then you're losing 1 minute 30 to Reusser, and you're losing, it's still a lot, a minute 18, a minute 15, but that's different to nearly 2 minutes.
Yeah, that is different to nearly 2 minutes. And like, if we talk about a difference between Vollering and ferran-prevot as a whole for a Ventoux climb, then if you look at their power to weight ratios on climbing performance in the past, then I put Col de la Madeleine, ferran-prevot relatively in the same tier of performance as Col du Tourmalet, Vollering. Vollering maybe even higher on Tourmalet in terms of actual, if we compare the two within a bubble, so to say, which is always impossible to do. There's always context to a stage. That also shouts at me that if Vollering, after this time trial, is at her best level on Ventoux, her best climbing level of the pass, so if you see Tourmalet Vollering on Ventoux, then there is no way that ferran-prevot puts 2 minutes into Vollering on Ventoux, even if she's at the same level of a Madeleine.
Or Fenestra Vollering.
Fenestra Vollering was pretty close.
About 2 minutes.
But also Fenestra Vollering didn't drop everybody, so I feel like Fenestra Vollering is a myth for me.
No, it's not as good. It's not as good, okay. But is it 2 mins worse?
No, not even close.
So that's the difference. I think 1 minute is very different to 2 minutes. 2 minutes, if Demi doesn't completely collapse like last year on Madeleine, 2 minutes you might have to take back in chunks. If you're good enough to take back the time, you might have to do it in chunks. I think Nuvia Doma's got to be happy with where she is, to be honest. Like, she's...
Great TT.
Yeah, great TT.
For her standard.
She's the best of the like smaller punchy riders, I think. Or not, I think she is, to be honest. Blasi obviously went full, so she's doing... whether defying team orders or not, Blasi and ELB finish on the same time, more or less. But I think that the reality is, like, Demi and Reusser are just in a league of their own. Like, there's 17 seconds splitting them, and then there's a tier of riders, Kerbal, ELB, Blasi, Nuvia Doma, Van der Breggen. They're all on about a minute, within 20 seconds of each other. Less, actually, within less than 20 seconds of each other. And then the gaps start to get big again. Van der Breggen TT was poor, I would say, by her standards.
Shockingly poor.
Yeah, really bad, actually, by her standards.
She heard your predictor for the time trial and was like, let's get Benji to the victory.
But yeah, maybe Vladarchik, I think, overpaced when I look at her. Vladarchik was 8th at T1 and 43rd to the finish, so she blew up, it looks like. And if you don't want to blow up in your time trials, if you're doing a TT, doing some sort of all-out effort, you don't want to blow up, you need Morton's bicarb product. If you've tried bicarb, maybe when you were 6 years old, you got bicarbonate soda from your mother or father's pantry, you had it, you tried to do an all-out effort and you had some sort of, you had gastrointestinal distress. That doesn't happen with Morton's bicarb product. It's encapsulated by Morton's hydrogel technology, passes through your system with less chance of gastric distress, and then it can be absorbed where it needs to be, and you don't have the issues that previous bicarb products used to have. That's why Morton is trusted throughout the peloton on big days like this. So go and try it out. You can get 15% off Morton's gels and drink mix with code LRCP Tour26 at morton.com. It ends in less than a week. The offer ends 10 August. It does exclude bicarb system and additions, but I think you can get some free additions thrown in here or there if you get enough drink mix, which I normally do. But yeah, you got less than a week to use that code to get 15% off Morton's gels and drink mix. Stock up now for the end of summer.
Talking about stocking up, Licky Nguyen had a pretty mutant time trial, really strong in his time trial to the point that it was probably one of the strongest, I think the strongest time trial I've ever seen her do. Like, she's had a few results in time trials, but nothing of this stature. So I was shocked to see how close she ended up being to Reusser's time at the end, to the point that I started doubting whether the wind had changed throughout the parkour. I don't know, so I have to take the result as is, and therefore Licky Nguyen's time trial was really good. If we then zoom out a bit and talk about that wind, there were a few moments in the downhill where it did look like Van der Breggen and Reusser, especially, those two were struggling with the wind, because there was this ending segment to the downhill with some gaps in between the houses, and every time a gap arrived, Reusser basically couldn't go off her hoods. If she tried to go off her hoods, she went back to her hoods because the wind was coming. So it's definitely not ideal, but that seemed to not be a problem for voting later. So it looked like it was just wind gusts acting up every now and then throughout the day based on that. Did you see the start of Hauksid? Because yesterday we said Hauksid would, I think she was 2 minutes 10 or something ahead of Reusser. We said it's going to be close. And then, first of all, the way she started her time trial, she was standing on the starting podium, and I think the person holding her bike at the back wasn't holding her in a very confident way, to the point that she looked terrified. She was trying to hold the tie of the UCI commissaire next to her, trying to make sure
what
if I collapse
your
here,
shirt, buddy?
What do you got under your shirt?
Two can play
That's
that
a
game.
horrible joke. Okay.
Two can play that game.
But she looked terrified. She starts off miserable intermediate time, and it's probably because she went all out yesterday. It was a bad time.
Up all night. How do you come down from that? Yeah, I mean, she's just done an 90K solo, taken the yellow jersey, won the biggest race of the team's career, her career, team's existence. And Instagram's popping off. There's no way. You got the blue light in your face until 2 a.m. There's no way she's getting to sleep.
On top of that, imagine taking the yellow jersey in a Grand Tour, and the stage on which you can roll around France with it is a 24-kilometer all-out torturous time trial. It's probably one of the worst stages to have the yellow jersey on, right?
I think so, yeah, because everyone's waiting for you, and it's
nice. A good sprint is a favorite, right? A sprint and then a mountain stage so you can show yourself trying to survive.
A sprint and then a soft mountain stage like yesterday, where the groups come back and you're fighting back, and then you don't lose it. That's a nice one. So yeah, she loses a lot of time, but to be honest, well, I didn't expect that much time. But again, maybe it was unrealistic to expect her to be like, as good as her normal level after the exertions of yesterday. So Luke sent me through the list. I've already looked at who's. I think that's a bad TT from Niedermeyer,
Yeah, I expect it to be better. You're right. For me, I'll try and divide them in two places here. Reusser, Volding, Kerbal, Longo Borghini, knowing that she had a bike change, good time trials, Blasi, solid time trial, Nivialoma, great time trial, Van der Breggen, disappointing time trial. Pretty shit for her standards. Vlodarczyk, I think she can do better. I think she can be around 1 minute, 1 minute 10 roughly if she paces it better. So maybe a little bit disappointing compared to expectations, but it's not the end of the world. Niedermeyer, similar feeling. I feel like she could do 110, 115-ish, so maybe 15, 20 seconds faster. Holmgren, you didn't have high expectations. I didn't have high expectations. Losing 2 minutes is not a shocker there. Trinka Colonel, I don't know. Maybe I expect a little bit more by Trinka Colonel, but I also don't see her as like the peak GC rider either. Like, she can finish top 10 in this Tour de France Femmes, but she's not the most relevant of the GC riders on this list. You know my take on ferran-prevot. I expected better, but I also had no guideline. And the second I saw her starting, I was pretty certain it was gonna be a shit time trial. And Lacour Pinar is definitely the time trial in this list where I'm like, I'm shocked that she finished on 2 minutes 22.
Yeah, because she's like the Holmgren and ferran-prevot, you can see the problem. It's in front of you. Whereas Pinar, her position looks all right. She's not tiny like Nee Fisher Black or a Bunel. Good equipment, good legs the last few days. And yeah, you'd expect it to be better. But the thing is, like we said before the TT, we have no frame of reference for a lot of these riders. We know what a Backstep can do and a Reusser because they target the TTs and all the every year. But I have no idea what ferran-prevot was going to do. Even Niviadoma, frankly, I had no idea what Niviadoma was going to do.
Can I say something controversial? I don't know how people are going to take this. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm just trying to give my observation. Demi Vollering looked a lot more fucked after her time trial than ferran-prevot did. And that to me shouts that ferran-prevot suffered just as much mentally than physically. Is that a complete wild guess?
It's hard to say, but indeed you see like Reusser and Vollering collapse on the ground. So maybe she couldn't push it all out. But we'll see. We'll already see tomorrow. I think who's the favorite for the Tour de France right now? It has to be Vollering. I mean, she can outpunch. I mean, she already could have taken the time back on Reusser yesterday. Frankly,
can I be honest? I don't think it's even close right now. I think Demi Vollering is outstanding favorite right now. I think it's going to be difficult for ferran-prevot, even at her best level, if Vollering is at her best climbing level, to take back anywhere near 2 minutes in a GC. Vollering can take 17 seconds on Reusser. I've got full confidence there. UAE's got 3 cards to play with on the NIS stage, but do you still have 3 cards to play with after the Ventoux stage? I'm not sure about that. So I'm not going to say that Tour de France Femmes is over, but Demi is definitely in proper pole position right now.
Yeah, I agree. And just obviously we didn't mention it, but her and Reusser crashed already in this race, seemingly unaffected by the crash. And yeah, it's I think it's setting up to be an interesting race. I think that's why the addition of the TT was crucial when you have a finish like Ventoux. Now Ventoux has a whole other dimension. What I said at the start of the pod that I want to conclude with is I over-indexed, I think, on the hill, and it's a carryover from the men's cycling.
Okay.
And if you have in men's Tour de France a hill like this, it brings the climbing guys up, like when Vingegaard in 23. A hill like this in this sort of TT will allow him to then almost beat a Ganna or a Tarling. And what we saw today was the power riders still, in fact, dominated more than if it was just flat, is my feeling. Ooh. At Nguyen's time, it's fucking huge.
Yeah, but Nguyen's a standout for me.
But also Reusser really smart, like.
I expected Reusser to take more than 17 seconds on Vollering.
True.
I expected that to be roughly 30. Maybe that's me overrating Reusser, but I swear our last couple of time trials were dominant.
And maybe Cassia disproves my point, but To
Was
me,
there a weather change halfway today?
yeah,
because that would explain
Luke is
the
talking
results.
about weather. Luke's talking about weather and wind changes. I don't know if he's making it up, but
He's a weatherman at this.
But you have to admit, me and you, we couldn't get a handle on this TT during it.
God, it looked to me like halfway through the wind changed because, first of all, maybe that's not the case and Likinoen just dropped a massive time trial, which I do believe is possible either way. But there's something odd about these results where the second half of the results are slightly worse than I expected them to be compared to the first half. Like when I saw Sandrine Tas from Lotto delivering a 28-minute 45 seconds-ish time. One of the earlier riders on course, I think ex-speed skater or something, on the team of Lotto. Then I thought to myself, okay, these Royce will be under 27 minutes, which, to be honest, yesterday, I didn't deem that possible. But then she even didn't come close to 27 minutes.
Exactly. Like it was, 27:30. Interesting TT. I really liked it. They got to have it back next year. It's a great counterbalance. So yeah, thumbs up from me. Tomorrow's stage, we have a really, really hard medium mountain stage from Macron to Belleville-en-Beaujolais, 140 kilometers long with 3,000 meters elevation gain. We have 8 categorized climbs,
Crazy.
three of which are category 2s. We have, we start with 12 Ks of climbing, basically, much of which is 4 to 5%. A lot of the climbing is moderate, but then the last 2 climbs are hard. So you have building fatigue, and then the last 2 climbs are hard. With 30 Ks to go, you have the crest of the Col de Derbies, which is fake news climb, 4 Ks, 5.5%. But the last 1,300 meters are 10%. It's pretty hard, pretty steep. And then you have a little downhill valley. Then Montbrouilly, this is where Santi and Plapp went away when they did laps of this in the Paris 2 years ago, maybe.
This is where Arnaud Delis in the orange jersey and Bessèges. Was that Montbrouilly, or am I inventing a climb? I'm probably inventing a climb. Montbrouilly is the Alaphilippe time trial at Tour de Paris.
You mean the TT? Is Bessèges TT?
No. I'm wrong. I don't know what it's called that climb.
Try to tell me. Get up Montbrouilly. 3Ks, 8%. We have a kilometer in there of 10.5%, quite steep there. And then that crests 10 Ks from the finish. The descent.
I'm sorry. Montbouquet, Montbrouilly, don't name your climb so similar.
No,
it starts with a B.
Everyone knows Montbouquet is the Bessèges 1 minute test.
It's not a 1 minute test.
Is it 1K, 10%?
It's 5K at 8%, Patrick.
Montbouquet.
Montbouquet is at 9%. And you're yapping about Arnaud Delis.
When was
5K
this?
at 9%, 2022. Stage 4. Stage 5? Stage 5.
2022 or 20? Sure, 23?
2022.
23. What the fuck happened to him?
He was so good in that race, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Actually, no.
I can't see him on the results page, but
1 minute 30. Well, I beat Raul Garcia Piano there. Beat Jagat. He dropped Jagat on Montbouquet. He put 30 seconds into him. We have the crest, and then the last bit's 5Ks from finish. I think the TT is going to have removed the handbrake we saw on the racing yesterday. I think they're going to race. Some riders have to race. You know, Niamh Fisher Black lost even more time than ferran-prevot. Niedermeyer's going to have to want to take time back, so I think we're going to see attacks tomorrow.
Yeah, but at what level do we see it? Because, first of all, I expect Peterson to be in the breakaway, because with so many QM points available and her not being in the results page of 1-2 expectedly, she will want to take points here because she's leading QM going into the stage. I think she's got 4 points on the other riders, so she can clean that or at least get a solid lead in that tomorrow by joining breakaway and adventuring. Peterson from a break is a nice call here, but I also don't see it impossible for the peloton to end up in a Vollering Kim LeCour-Pinard sprint, you know? Are you muted or what are you doing?
I'm muted. I'm going with Vollering in a small group sprint. Taking the yellow jersey.
I hate that you pick first.
Taking the yellow jersey. No, me picking first lets you just follow me in.
Yeah, I also wanted to pick voting, but now it looks shit that I follow voting because I'm leading by so much, and now I feel guilty for doing so. I'll give you a bit of a. I'll go for voting.
Yeah, exactly. How big's the group?
6-7 riders.
Who's a surprising rider that gets dropped and loses time?
Ferran-prevot.
I'm going Kerbal.
I'm saying. Am I allowed to say this? Let me check if I want to launch it. Let me check if I want to. Give me 1 second to check. I'm saying after this time trial, 15th place on a minute 16, taking 45 seconds on her co-leader. Hashtag free Femke de Vries.
Yeah, why not?
It's never gonna happen.
Why not? Why not?
Because based on the punchings of Ferran-prevot yesterday, she's gonna need every help she can get on tomorrow's parkour.
Tomorrow it's not punchy though. Montbrouillet's not punchy for them.
Are you saying it's slightly too long?
It's too long. It's a hard stage. I think it's more of like a VO2 max effort than like yesterday. Yesterday there was sprint, stop, start. I think it's a bit different.
Yeah.
I think you got to put, but in a different way. Like Niedermeyer de Vries. I mean, Vollering's got no climbing support, 0. Does Vollering
and 3 away riders?
Does she want to take the yellow jersey? Because if Vollering takes yellow tomorrow and she's in yellow on Von 2. That creates a psychological situation for her, and she will have no help.
I'm not too scared for that stage of Vollering being in yellow. I'd be not. I think take yellow when you can, to be honest. And yes, if your team's shit, then your team's shit. Deal with it. Because people are going to look at you as the favorite now anyway, or at least should. They might not, but they should.
Yeah, Royce is in yellow, but yeah, you probably, I don't know. But yeah.
Like, Royce are looking good for a potential podium position, but it's not a certainty at all because the way Nivea Doma did her time trial, I'm almost certain she's ending up on a podium at this point. The way she rode her time trial, I'm like, okay, podium lock.
Yeah.
I think Blasi should go in the breakaway.
What are you going to do with the 3 riders in GC that they didn't want to have? And by the way, the worst of them is the one that's supposed to be the leader.
To be fair, she lost most of her time because of the crash on stage 1. But I actually, to be completely honest,
time today?
To be completely honest, I expect Vlodarczyk and Blasi to not be far from each other on Van 2 in terms of climbing level.
Yeah.
Because last year, Vlodarczyk at the Tour de France was good.
Yeah, she was good, yeah.
I'm less confident in ALB on Van 2, actually. But she's got the stature in the team to the point that she's going to be seen as the go-to person based on current GC positions. But I think they're already switching up. Can I give a prediction? I think Blasi will win the white jersey in this race, and then UAE will come out and say, this was the plan all along. We just tried to tone down the pressure on Blasi the entire race. That's what's going to happen, Patrick.
Could do.
Might as well twist it like that at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure she was so good on Madeleine.
You mean Vlodarczyk?
Yeah. I think everyone...
I think it's like 495 ASLP.
I think everyone was bad on Madeleine.
Ferran-prevot as well?
No, she was good. Gigante was like solid, but I think the others were not so good.
Boarding was under level, for sure.
Yeah. So... Fisher Black was good, but she was in the break. Well, we also had Tour of Poland today. Pretty incredible sprint finish. They had a beautiful parkour last year, which I really liked, with like hilly sprint stages. And then
they decided to piss on it.
So we have 3 stages with like less than 1,000 meters elevation gain. And then in the last K&a-half today, we had like massive highway, huge bunch, a highway overpass descent entry into the last K. Very special stuff. No crashes. I do have to say, I think today proved my theory that sharp corners in sprints make it safer.
I'm not having this discussion with you.
There was no crash. It slowed them down.
the way you attend this whole proposition is, you say sharp corners make sprints as a whole safer.
Yes.
I think a more okay take would be sharp corners might be better than a slow bend in the last 200 meters, but it's still not better than a straight 300-meter sprint.
I don't know. I think...
There was a pretty sharp corner in that Napoli sprint at the Giro.
Yeah, that was not tarmac, and it wasn't that sharp. The problem was it was wet cobbles. That was the major issue. I think the corners are safer.
I think if you do this on a regular basis, your point will be unproven.
Because it stretches the bunch out of the corner, and then when they're sprinting, they're all single or dual file. If they come in with speed, right? Someone's going to sprint and then move. And then there's the big wave effect when there's no space, when there's 7 across.
You're more saying a sharp corner with like 450 meters to go.
Yeah.
Not like with 200, 180.
Yeah, exactly. I would have sequential. Yeah, exactly.
I see that.
And this is what happens is we go into this corner, Ciccone, not Ciccone, what's his, Consoni even. He's leading out Milan. And you know when Milan's in good shape because he like doesn't get a great lead out and then he still wins. Because basically Astana are the best drilled sprint team in the world. It's not close. Like they are working with guys that I guarantee the other sports directors have never heard of. And they have a plan into this corner. They're going to go Malucelli, drop the wheel mid-corner of Romele, the young 22-year-old who was good in the UAE Tour big bunch sprints, if you recall, as a lead-out man. Drop the wheel, he kicks out of the corner, and then Malucelli, the plan is to find the wheel of Milan and then force Milan to chase Romele, launching his sprint 400 meters to go, and then maybe Malucelli can win a la Alula Tour.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Astana's plan, even Garcia Cortina closed the gap for Milan, but it was a great plan.
He tried. I agree with you. Now, I actually don't mind the sharp corner as much as I did the downhill run into the sprint. Vividly remember a sprint in maybe 2022 or 2021, in the year that we did #CAF to the Tour, where there was a flat sprint finish, but after a downhill run into that flat sprint, obviously shouldn't happen because it increases the speed of a sprint so much. It's exactly what happened in that Tour de Polonia sprint back in the day where Fabio Jakobsen was taken out by Dylan Groenewegen. It was also super high speed because of a downhill to the sprint. And we now come to a stage where it happens again. I remember after that Tour of Turkey stage that David Lapacien had a media interview where he said, downhill run-ins to sprint should not happen. Then why is this approved?
I don't know why they've gone back to this.
Yeah, you know why? Because that thing he said after the Tour of Turkey was never implemented in the rules. And a UCI safety manager is also, in most races, just the race director of the race. And if you don't have a third-party check on the safety within the race, then why would the race director of the race, in his role of safety manager, call himself out?
True. It's like us being Ofcom for this podcast. Do you know what Ofcom is, Benji?
No.
Many complaints to them.
Oh, Ofcom, like the people you complain to for like if BBC does something wrong.
Yeah, it's like when in an interview a writer says a swear word, Hatch apologizes. So there's no Ofcom complaints. Exactly. I'm the regulator of this podcast.
So if anyone complains to you about me, you're like,
I'll submit this to management. Yeah.
And then
I think I've literally done that. When people complain out the Lanterne Rouge Instagram account, which is just me receiving it, I'll be like, we'll take this under advisement. I'll let them know.
I think there was a moment where the Indian race, the Pune Tour,
yeah.
Someone criticized, I think, the way I pronounced it, because I didn't know it was called Pune instead of, I don't know how I said it wrong. I don't remember.
You said it like prune. Well, no, which is just a phonetic pronunciation if you didn't check.
Yeah, and we had an official complaint. I had to offer 75% of my salary to a charity in India.
But I think, and it's actually Pune.
That's a joke, by the way.
It's Pune.
Patrick didn't.
You know they're gonna have like they're trying to create a league. We already discussed that in a weekly show. I
mean?
reckon we'll be at that race within
Oh.
2 years because it's going to be such a big event.
Let's fucking do it.
I'm keen.
I've never
yeah.
been to India. I'd love to.
Me either, so I'd be keen to go.
Especially because then I'd realize how poor the Indian food in the UK probably is.
Indian food in the UK is pretty good.
Foreign food in the UK is great. UK food in the UK is horrible, but there's something about eating.
Benji, I gotta get real with you.
Okay.
Everyone, I gotta get real with you. Sorry to do in public. I think your palate. I know what your palate is like. I think
My favorite food is Japanese food. You can't complain.
I think the spice level of Indian food in the UK. Not that all the Indian food in India is indeed spicy, but I think
I eat my Thai red curry at Thai level spice, my friend.
just go in and order your butter chicken, mate. do you, Mrs. Rouge?
I'm dead serious.
Mrs. Rouge
I'm
goes
good
in,
with spice.
pretends to read the menu. I'm like, just why are you doing that? Not to call her out. I'm like, why are you doing that? You know, we all know what's going to go on here. What you're going to do. They know what you're going to do. We know what you're going to do. Just order the butter chicken.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Sean Evans. Sean Evans.
Hot ones.
I'm
yeah.
challenging you. A 1v1 between Patrick and I
That's not even
on
close.
what's it called? What's his show?
Hot ones.
The Wing Off?
Hot ones.
Sorry. Wing Off would have been a greater name.
Wing off. Mrs. Rouge says, I don't give a fuck. Butter chicken's good. I just order it what I like to eat. I don't care.
I've never eaten a butter chicken in my life, I think.
We had the Tour, and indeed Milan won the sprint today ahead of Manier. Malocelli, great plan, but it just didn't work out. Garcia Cortina fourth, then Skirl, De Haas, Zylard, Lowland, Bogoslovsky, Mayus. Tomorrow we have another flat sprint where Milan likely is the favourite. In Vuelta Burgos, we had a more interesting sprint, and Matthew Brennan came back into shape and went 1-2 with Ben Tyler, who did the last punchy lead out ahead of Pithy at the famous Castillo Burgos finish. Somewhat relevantly though, hashtag bring back gaps is actually being implemented. We have real gaps on this sort of sprint finish where Widar's group only loses 12 seconds at the finish. Only Vine, Sivakov, Tuckwell, Torres, Enrique, Nordhagen, they lose 12 seconds plus bonies to Tullett. Tullett took 6 bonies. Pellizzari loses 28 seconds. So, proper gaps. Ivan Sosa, 28 seconds. Did he win this race? He's won this race twice.
Can I be honest? Who are you to call me out on food? You wake up in the morning and eat cereal with water with a side of black ink paella.
Yeah? Squid ink paella. What's wrong with it?
Who puts cereal in water?
I put water in cereal. I put tap water in cereal, yeah. If you're trying to get lean, if you're on a lean system, you're like, I got to cut. Put water in.
It's like
Put water
you
in
can eat
cornflakes.
cardboard too.
Just go carb up. Just carb up. All right. And
I prefer Morton.
tomorrow, indeed. But I'm not going to have a gel. I like Morton, and they are a great partner of the show. But all due respect, I'm not having hydrogel for literal breakfast.
3 shells and a bottle of hydrogel.
So I did that for the ultra marathon. I didn't eat before. People were like, you got a carb load in the morning. I'm like, I'm not going to carb load before 7 a.m. Wake up to yourself. Tomorrow we have like
you don't wake up before 7 a.m.
Indeed, that's why I'm not going to carb load before it. 3K 7% finish at Vuelta Burgos. Tomorrow might be the Britons back to back. So thanks for listening as always. We'll see you with the recap of the women's mini mountain stage tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.